All right, welcome to a new episode of the Opening Bid Unfiltered. Like I always say, this podcast will make you a smarter investor, period. And we're welcoming back a special guest here, Chipotle CEO Scott Boatwright. Scott, good to see you as always there. Look, we talked to you about 4 or 5 months ago on the pod. You had a lot going on. No pun intended. What do you have cooking at Chipotle now?
Yeah, hey, Brian, thanks for having us on this morning. Always good to see you. We have a lot going on in the brand today. We talked about this a bit on our last earnings call, how I believe today the brands that are winning in this very tough consumer backdrop are the brands that are innovating in a really meaningful way. And so innovation at Chipotle has always been very measured and for many, many years, and it will remain a measured process we'll always follow our stage gate approach. But I think we need to move up the speed of innovation. We had confidence around the Adobo Ranch, which we launched this summer. It tested super well. It went through the stage gate process, held up to our high bar on standards. I think we've talked about this in the past, Brian, where it needs to meet the 3 greens. It needs to be right for the consumer. It needs to be right operationally, and it needs to be right financially. And so we have moved up what we think to be world-class innovation, and you're going to see some of that play out on the 2026 marketing calendar as we think think differently how we reach the consumer in the months and quarters ahead.
Scott, I've covered Chipotle way back to when Steve Ells was getting the company off the ground. It's always had, like any company, has different chapters. Does it feel like you're you're at a crossroads now? Not that your brand is hurting by any stretch of the imagination. That's not what I'm getting at, but you have cautious consumers, you're working on new technology, you're bringing some more new things to the menu. It just sounds like a very important moment for the company.
Yeah, I agree, Brian. I feel like we're at an inflection point, and the consumer behaviors shifted measurably over the last several quarters. And so there's, it's not new news to anyone that the consumer uncertainty is probably greater this year than it was last year, and it wasn't great last year. And so consumers are being very, for lack of a better word, choosy about how they spend their dollars, where they spend their dollars. They're looking for value, but they're also looking for value as a price point, which many of the big QSRs and even other fast casuals lean into in these uncertain times. I talk about this often, this idea that value at Chipotle equals benefit over price. And what I want to do, Brian, is really hold price constant, but continue to improve the benefit of the offering for the consumer, which I believe will increase value for the consumer and continue us to lean into our core equities around the value perception at Chipotle, which is really grounded in this idea of high quality, great ingredients prepared with classic culinary techniques at a speed and price point that is really unmatched.
And Scott, it's not, it sounds more like, the consumer's under pressure. It's not just a Chipotle thing. I heard over at Starbucks over the past few months, every other restaurant is talking about this, but it sounds more like an economic thing. When I go into Chipotle, the food tastes exactly the same as I've went every single time the past 10 years of my life. It's not like you're cutting back on ingredient quality. This is not why maybe traffic isn't as strong as it was a year ago.
That's right, Brian. Based on our data and what we're seeing with the consumer, we're not losing customers. We're losing frequency of those customer visits, meaning the Chipotle fan that was coming 2 or 3 times a week may now be coming once or twice per week. They're still coming. They're still enjoying the great food that they've always appreciated and loved about our great brand. They're just coming less often because I think they're being more conservative on how they think about spending dollars in this really uncertain macroeconomic environment.
I'm looking through the prism of, I work in New York City. I live in Long Island, and there's these new restaurants popping up that I think have seen what Chipotle has done, what Sweetgreen has done, even what Cava. They're still new as well, too. Are these new upstarts taking that extra trip away? And how do you measure the rising competition in some of these big markets?
Yeah, as you can imagine, we follow most of our competitors and other brands, whether they're casual dining or QSR, very closely to understand where are share gains happening. In this value conscious environment where the big QSRs are competing on value as a price point. So think, $2.99 snack occasion, $5 meal deals. They're really trading customers between those brands. What we see in our fast casual segment, particularly, as we continue to move share forward. This last quarter, we saw some diminishing share gains in the May timeframe, where we talked about the consumer stepping down on spending, and we saw that the low-income consumer was really under pressure. But we don't see share gain loss, or share loss, I should say, to other fast casual or even QSR concepts.
You and I have talked in the past, and you've always been proud of, and even prior management, I'm thinking back to Brian Nickel when he was leading the company, on keeping prices under $10, under $10 for a burrito. Even Jack Hartung, when I always talk to him, a longtime CFO, I know he's there in some capacity. But
Jack's the best.
Yeah, I mean, that guy is a good dude. But are you at the point now, just given how the costs have risen in the business and the industry, you have to start marketing around things like around $10? Is that like the next frontier for Chipotle, where you just can't keep that $10 price point?
You know, it's a great question, Brian. I think for us, as we continue to lean into the offering, whether that's better ingredients, better animal welfare practices, and continue to drive this idea of abundance for the consumer, big, beautiful bowls, big, beautiful burritos, and we can hold price constant because we have such an incredible economic model. Brian, we don't have to make knee-jerk responses or knee-jerk reactions to what's going on in the macro, whether that's cost of goods that may change or tariff impact in the business. As you know, the brand enjoys an extraordinary economic model that drives outsized returns based on our annual unit spend. And so I'll tell you, I say all that to say that I think we're rightly positioned in the market we're in today. We may have to think differently about how we drive demand. But I do think this is transitory. I think once things begin to improve and stabilize in the macro environment, that things will improve.
What do you just have to blister the TV airwaves with ads? I mean, Chipotle has done a fair amount of ads, but is that what you're thinking about? How do you change what you've done?
I think we just need to communicate our value proposition in a more meaningful way in this consumer environment, and then bring forward innovation that is demand driving or demand generating. And based on what we have in the hopper, unfortunately, I can't share those ideas with you today, Brian. We've got some really unique items that are on brand, on trend, that I know will get our core consumer to come into the brand more frequently and drive transactions in our digital ecosystem with our most loyal customers. I've
learned in the past to just stop asking about breakfast, so I'm going to check that off. I'm not asking about it. But dips. You did show your hand a little bit on the earnings call. You're going to lean into dips. Why dips? And honey chicken, is that another item?
Yeah, so the hot honey chicken performed exceptionally well in Q2. We will move into our fall LTO here in just a few short weeks. But this idea around dips and sides is a unique opportunity because sauces are on trend. They've been on trend for a long time, and people are looking for unique flavors. I think these are opportunities to enhance the Chipotle experience for the consumer and give them a compelling reason to come in more often.
We were talking about, the state of the economy and the consumer. Are people still paying what, $2.95 to add extra guac?
Yeah, and we've held that price constant for the last several years. It's drinks and sides incidence has held steady even throughout these uncertain times over the last couple of quarters, which gives us confidence that when the consumer comes in, it's not a check issue that they're fighting against. It's how often can they come to the brand and enjoy the great food that they love.
Scott, if you want to boost that same-store sales, just raise the price on the guac. I mean, that's one, as an analyst would say, or CFO, one lever. I mean, Jack would appreciate that. It raises like $3.25. I mean, who's going to say, no, I don't want guac on my bowl, man?
It's easy, and most brands will lean into pricing as a lever to really move top-line sales and improve margin. That's not the game that we play, and so we're going to continue to lean into this idea of driving extraordinary value for the consumer, especially in these uncertain times.
You were just talking about the hot honey chicken. Is Chipotle still Mexican food?
Absolutely is. It's Mexican-inspired food, I should say, Brian. And that's what it was even in the early days when Steve started the brand. It was really around this idea, how can I improve on what is already an incredibly popular cuisine and use better ingredients, use what he believed to be classic culinary techniques in those days. We still leverage those today in our restaurants to bring a unique eating experience for the American consumer. and what's kind of crazy to me is we've been able to prove that out, not only here in North America, but also in Western Europe and in the Middle East, where we're seeing great success with our partner Al Shaya Group there in Kuwait, Dubai, and we have a few other restaurants opening here soon in Abu Dhabi.
How are those stores doing?
We are really pleased with the partnership. Mohammed Al Shaya is really pleased with the partnership, and we will expand aggressively over the remaining months of 2025 with a pretty aggressive plan to grow again in 2026.
Are you surprised the Chipotle brand, I mean, it's been a U.S.-centric brand since day one. Are you surprised this is having success in Dubai? I mean, honestly, come on. I mean, really, realistically, nobody had heard of Chipotle there.
That's right. There are obviously several expats in Dubai, which helps us. But I'll tell you, the core of the menu, Brian, is really rice, beans, and chicken. And that type of cuisine works in any corner of the globe. And so that gives us a lot of confidence. We can expand well beyond the North American borders into other parts of the world with a high degree of success.
Do you have guac on that menu in Dubai? I've never been to Dubai, Scott, I have to ask.
Absolutely. Yes, we have guac on the menu. We do not have pork, as you can imagine.
Yes.
But that is the only menu exception that we have there. We are building the recipes to the standard, which were created in 1993. And we have an unwavering commitment to just that. And so I know a lot of brands have to go through a menu adaptation process to fit the culture that they're going into. Not for Chipotle. The brand's working exceptionally well as designed.
This guy knows every piece of his operation. All right, hang with us, Scott. We're going to go off for a quick break. We'll be right back on Opening Bid Unfiltered. All right, welcome back to Opening Bid Unfiltered, which we have the pleasure of taping all the time here at the NASDAQ in Times Square. Love this building. Great crew here as well. Talking to now Chipotle CEO Scott Boatwright. Scott, you talked about some of the international occasions Chipotle's opening, and you're about to open one, in Mexico. When does this open? And how in the world is Chipotle going to compete in a Mexico where they're making authentic Mexican food?
It's a great question and one I get quite often. So we were lucky enough to partner with an extraordinary group that has been operating in Mexico and Latin America for many, many years, the Alsea Group. And they came to us with this idea of bringing the Chipotle Mexican Grill to Mexico. And they had a lot of confidence in this idea that in Mexico, what is on trend is fresh ingredients that are prepared in restaurant and delivering an extraordinary experience. And so that gave us a lot of confidence to lean in, to understand where might we be most successful in the country. So we will open our first restaurant with Alsea around Q1, Q2 of next year in Monterrey, Mexico.
And it's the same menu there as a U.S. Chipotle?
Exact same menu, exact same supply chain. And so we'll see where the partnership goes, but we have a lot of confidence in Alsea's ability to pick the right locations for real estate. Obviously, they have access to capital. They are great operators of many other American brands, and they've shown a proven track record to be highly successful, really all throughout Latin America.
I mean, you're going to have to go on a major marketing blitz here, no? Like to convince that population, don't make that authentic food at home. Come to Chipotle, and we're going to give you our own take on this.
You know, we have a large Hispanic base of customers here in the U.S. today from all parts of Latin America. And so, you know, when you just, we always had this belief, and we still do today, Brian, that when you have the best ingredients in the world and prepared with loving care in restaurants with pots, pans, knives, cutting boards, and stovetops, and you deliver that experience at a price point that is unmatched in abundance in the variety in which we provide, that's really the core equity or the core equities of this great brand, and they just work really well.
You know, for those not familiar, you were the former CEO of Chipotle for an extended time before you got this job, and you know the company's operations in and out. But there is now a transformation underway that you're leading of the operations of a Chipotle, and you don't realize this when you walk into the restaurant, but this is actually happening. Tell me if I have this right, Scott. You're putting out a dual-sided grill that will reduce cook time from 14 minutes to 4. Is that right?
Close, Brian. Yeah. So obviously we cook fresh chicken in restaurant all throughout the day. And it takes about 12 to 14 minutes on the old style plancha that we use for many, many years. And it's really not about the cook time. I think the cook time is a key upside to having the dual-sided plancha in the restaurant. More importantly, is we often overcook our chicken on the plancha. Chicken you cook to 165 degrees is probably way too technical for your listeners. But
I've never tasted dry chicken at Chipotle. I mean, I'm just going to say it, but go ahead.
You won't, hopefully, thank you, Brian. Hopefully you won't find it dry, but it's often cooked a little too long, and it begins to lose some of the flavor and moisture. What the dual-sided plancha will do is it will cook the chicken to the right temperature and immediately open, signaling to the grill operator, please remove the chicken. And it's resulting in a better eating experience for the consumer. So better culinary, better flavor, cook times are lower, yields better. It's really a win-win in all facets of operations.
Where else are you looking at in terms of operations? When I see that type of time reduction to make food, I mean, I think, wow, I mean, throughput increases. You can put out more orders per minute. I mean, it changes the whole dynamics of operating a restaurant.
Yeah, what I love about it, Brian, is that it allows us to cook less more often. And so where other brands have to stock the lines for whatever demand that they're going to have at peak, we're able to cook all throughout the peak. So you always have fresh food coming out of the kitchen to the line to create a better experience for the consumer. So I think that's important. We also are expanding the footprint of our fryer. Today, we cook chips in every restaurant. It takes about 4 to 5 hours to cook all the chips we need for the day. And those are made fresh every morning. And so expanding that capacity really reduces the time needed and, again, improves the culinary experience because oftentimes our team members are putting way too much product in the fryer and causing them not to cook properly. So this removes that crutch for the team member, reduces the amount of time, creates a better culinary experience for the customer.
I can see the comments I'm going to get. I want to make sure I have this right. This is not Chipotle, who I've grown up watching. I see people hand cut vegetables and meat, and I'm watching them do this. I mean, this is not Chipotle turning McDonald's here with all these big scary machines behind the counter. This is not what you're doing.
That is not what we are doing. So we still have to have our knives and cutting boards and stovetops, Brian, full stop. So that doesn't change. What we're trying to do is create a more efficient experience for the team member. And I've always said that the team member experience will never exceed, the guest experience will never exceed that of the team member experience. And today, some of those jobs and tasks in a Chipotle restaurant are just hard to complete. Now, if you're a team member that has to cut 2 25-pound bags of whole onions today with a knife and a cutting board, it's a challenging job, right? And so not everyone raises their hand for that one. And so what we're doing is we'll still need the knife and the cutting board. So you'll still have to cut the onion, peel the onion, trim it down, but we're now able to put it into a produce slicer to remove a lot of the repetitive motion necessary to get our onions sliced for our restaurant for peak periods.
How many restaurants will have these new grills and some of these other things you're working on?
It's slow moving. We'll be in about 160 restaurants this year, Brian, and so we're still in that test and learn phase. We're now putting all 5 pieces of equipment. I think it's 5. So we call it the high efficiency equipment package, which is the dual-sided plancha, the 3rd-pan rice cooker, the dual vat fryer. It's 4, and the produce slicer. And so what we're trying to understand are what are the synergistic benefits of having all 4 under one roof. We will start with a large market that we're already working to retrofit. And then all new restaurants that are built beyond Q4 will have the new equipment package. And then we'll start a retrofit program, which will take about 2 or 3 years to retrofit the existing fleet.
Last time we talked, you were right. It sounded like you were in the early stages of, and I might have this wrong, but putting cameras or something above where you get your food made to help, I guess, measure what is in bowls or help you understand what people are buying. Where are you at with that, and how will you roll technology like that out moving forward?
Yeah, so we're in the early days of what we're calling the visioning system. And so our original intention, and it's an AI, it's traditional AI camera system that will monitor people moving down the line to understand, are we deployed correctly at peak to drive optimal throughput. And when it sees someone out of position, it'll immediately notify or cause a red flag to signal to the restaurant manager or the field leader that something has changed and needs to be corrected. And so we see all sorts of use cases for that, Brian, beyond the original use case. You could use it for accuracy in ringing, food detection to understand where we may be low on an ingredient, to signal to the grill operator that more needs to be cooked. But we see it has several opportunities to really improve the business for both the team member and the consumer.
But is it measuring, all right, so Jenny or Johnny has the spoon and they dig in for the avocado or the guacamole. Are you measuring that? Like, is that where you want to get to here? Like, all right, well, Jenny or Johnny, they put 1/4 of an inch too much guac in Brian's spoon. I mean, is that what you're trying to do here?
I hope they put too much guac on the spoon. So that is not something we have done as a brand historically, is wring out cost down the line by not giving the customer a great experience. And that's one thing we talk about a lot as a brand. I think it's an important differentiation from our competitors, is we want to over deliver on the experience. And so that's not it. What I want to do is ensure that the customer that gets guac, it's actually rung into the POS, because we often miss that when the expediter doesn't catch it and the guest gets guac for free. Not a bad thing, not great for profits,
Great for me.
For the consumer.
Keep that free guac coming, Scott. I love it, man. Look, in the last 2 minutes, as you know, we always love to get a hot take from our guests. No pun intended, this is a pressure cooker gig, the CEO of Chipotle. You're opening up thousands of restaurants. You got shareholders. What do you do to relax? What is your happy place outside of the world of Chipotle?
Yeah, thank you for that, Brian. It's a great question. I don't know if you know, but I have a 4-year-old at home who'll be turning 5 next month. He's my only son, or my only child. And so I find my best moments when I can unplug from the world, and it's just he and I, or my wife and the three of us, are able to spend time just to decompress as a family and enjoy each other's time. And so I think that's the biggest way I unwind. I try to stay healthy and stay fit. So I spend, my 5 a.m.s are often in a gym somewhere here in Newport Beach, or on the road when we're traveling, to just try to keep the mind and body to keep the mind and body healthy. So that's it.
No, that's good stuff. Is it hard to manage now? Look, COO wasn't an easy gig. I mean, you're traveling around the country managing restaurants, but how has it changed now that you've settled into this role, like your time, your day, and how do you keep that work-life balance? And does that even exist in a role like this?
I've always had an open door policy, and so as COO, you have that flexibility where you take every meeting, you take every call, you spend time with as many people as you can. One of the things I've had to learn how to do in the new role is to say no. And so you've got to be very guarded about your time and how you spend your time, because you can get caught up in work that is not going to ladder to the overall success of the company, or doesn't create a step change improvement in the business, or it's just a time drain. And so you have to be very guarded and very protective, and you have to surround yourself with people that understand that philosophy.
Thank you for that. Thank you for saying yes to another interview with me in Yahoo Finance, and thank you for that leadership lesson. I will send you the check in the mail. Chipotle CEO Scott Boatwright, good to see you as always. Looking forward to seeing some of that new equipment and maybe some new dips on the menu very soon.
Sounds great, Brian. Thank you again for having us, and always good to see you.
All right, likewise. All right, that's it. Chipotle CEO Scott Boatwright, opening bid unfiltered here at the NASDAQ in Times Square. Thank you as always for the support.